Welcome to the Let Me Bend Your Ear podcast. My name is Frank. I am the host of the show. On this podcast, I discuss and review movies new and old. On this episode, I'm going to be discussing and reviewing the new film Conclave, starring Ralph Fiennes, and I'll be getting to that in a moment. Just some housekeeping, of course. You can follow the show on X and on Instagram. The handle is at Bend Your Ear Pod. I would also ask if you don't mind joining the YouTube channel. If you can like and subscribe, you'll get notifications when the show goes live. If you can do that, the handle is also at Bend Your Ear Pod. And you can also follow the show on X at Bend Your Ear Pod. Episodes are streamed live there as well. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it. Second thing I'd like to ask, if you don't mind, if you have the ability to support the show, that would be great. You can go to my X page, again, at Bend Your Ear Pod, and go to the tip jar there. Every little bit helps to defray the cost of putting the show on. So if you could do that, I would really, really appreciate it. If you have any suggestions about the show, any movies you'd like me to review, excuse my voice, I'm sorry. Any movies you'd like me to review or discuss movies, you can, best way to reach me is on X. And if you want to email the show directly, though, that is bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com. You can also go to the website. The website is letmebendyyourear.com. Every episode, all the way back to episode 1, when I started the podcast in 2018, is there on that website. So I highly encourage you to go there, take a look at the website, and you can download any show there as well. As far as the audio podcast, of course, you can get it wherever you get your podcast. It is available currently that I know of on Amazon, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast. And you can get it on YouTube Podcasts, I think, as well, if you go to YouTube Music. And there's other podcasting platforms that it's available on. So just type in wherever you get your podcast. Just type in Let Me Bend Your Ear Podcast. And if you can rate and review the show as well, if you're a regular listener, that also helps the amplification of the show in the algorithm. So if people are looking for a new movie podcast, hopefully they will check it out. So again, thank you for all of that. All right, so I'm going to discuss and review the film Conclave. Now, I had heard about this movie a few months ago before it was released. I was able to watch it on streaming. I didn't see it when it came out in the theaters. And it has Ralph Fiennes, John Lithgow, Stanley Tucci, a great cast in this film. And I was interested in the plot of the film because I know, I'm not Catholic, but I am aware of kind of in the abstract what a conclave is. So obviously, when a new pope is being chosen, all the cardinals meet at the Vatican. They go into a sequestered room and they have what's called the conclave, and they vote until they come up with a new pope. The only thing I really knew about that process is the end of the process, where if you have black smoke, that means there is no pope yet. And then when you have white smoke, that means they have a pope. So that's the only thing really I knew about that. About the process. So it was interesting to me just seeing the preview for it. And it seemed, when I looked at the preview to the movie, it was going to be one of those, what's the best term for it? Palace intrigue movies. So obviously things going on, the machinations, the politics of who would become the next pope. So as the movie opens, you have the pope, the current pope dies of a heart attack. And Ralph Fiennes' character, who is one of the cardinals there, he is Cardinal Lawrence. So he has been selected before the previous pope died to be in charge of the conclave to pick the next pope. So as the film opens, you have 4 candidates for this post, for the new pope. So you have a pope from the United States. You have, and he's played by Stanley Tucci. He's a very liberal pope, wants to be, more inclusive, kind of the liberal vein, which is similar to the pope that has just passed away. You have Cardinal Idemi. He's in Nigeria. He's a conservative. You have Tremblay from Canada, who is played by John Lithgow, and he's more of a moderate. And then you have Tedesco, an Italian cardinal, who's a staunch old school traditionalist Catholic. So those are the 4 people that are up for the Pope. So as the movie starts to sequester them in the conclave, things start to get revealed regarding each of the candidates. And the main thing that happens is Lawrence finds out that on the night that the Pope died, he allegedly asked Tremblay to resign. The reasons, you don't know. When Tremblay is confronted about it, he denies it. And that's basically the first part of the film. And then other things start to be revealed regarding each of the candidates, whether it's a personal thing or whether it's the push and pull of the Cardinals trying to see who they want to be the Pope and the politics of it all. So, as I stated a little bit earlier, that's what I thought the narrative drive of the film would be. And it is that, and it's very interesting, well acted, and well done. So that's what I liked about the movie a lot. I liked the kind of, like I said, the palace intrigue about it, not knowing much about what goes on in a conclave. It was interesting to see that process play itself out and kind of see how Lawrence navigates overseeing this process without, for lack of a better term, putting his hand on the scale for any one candidate or another. So he's being pushed and pulled in different directions to kind of support certain candidates here and there. And one of the things that is actually surprising and very interesting in the movie is Lawrence gives his homily, and in the homily he talks about the church to embrace uncertainty. And basically the narrative drive of that homily is the most important thing about the Catholic faith is the faith part of it, is to yield yourself to something larger than yourself and to lean into that. So after he gives that homily, some of the cardinals are annoyed because now they think that he actually wants to be the Pope, that he has ambitions to be the Pope. And Lawrence basically, at the time that the Pope passes away, you also are told that Lawrence is facing a crisis of faith himself and was planning to leave the church and is going to leave the church as soon as the conclave is completed and a new Pope is chosen. So that adds an interesting element to the movie as well. And of course, after he gives the homily, the cardinals believe he wants to be Pope too. So none of them believe that he really wants to leave, that he's ambitious just like everybody else. So again, this is the most interesting part of the film. So obviously, when you deal with any kind of film, dealing with any kind of religion, the things to me that are most interesting in those types of films, is the humanity of the people that practice the religion. Because obviously, any kind of faith is run by men, and men are flawed. Men have egos. Men have ambitions. Even if the ambitions come from a place that's pure, they have them, and that can cloud their judgment and what they want to do and where they want to pursue. So that part of the film is extremely, extremely interesting. Like I said, you have Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, and you have also Isabella Rossellini, who plays a nun that's there at the Vatican as well. All fantastic, all well done. And like I said, the majority of the film kind of deals with that, and you're kind of fascinated, and it keeps you interested in what's going to happen. Now, for me, it's funny because when I saw the first preview of the film, I think, and I don't know if anybody else thought this as well, I was thinking that was it going to lean into maybe the Pope's death was not by natural causes, that there was maybe a coup or someone there wanted the Pope gone so they could take over. So I didn't know, they didn't sell it that way, but that's the way it kind of appeared because of the mysterious kind of meeting in hallways, the cloak and dagger kind of behind the scenes machinations to see who would become the next Pope, and by the parties that are looking to ascend to be the Pope and be voted into the Popeship. So that was kind of what I thought it was. It's not that, but that's okay. Because like I said, it really, once I realized that that's not really where they were going with that, it was really more about the personal lives of the cardinals that are trying to ascend and what their issues may be and why that would be either good or bad for the church going forward. So it delves into that theme of embracing either the more liberal aspects of it, leaning into that to be more inclusive, or the more traditional, old school Catholic beliefs, that kind of push and pull between it. Like I said, it's very similar to politics, and this movie makes it very clear. You have your liberals, you have your conservatives, and then you have your moderates. So it's just like basically any political arena, obviously, with the backdrop of it being the choosing of a pope and being in the Vatican. So again, all of that is very interesting, very dramatic, and very well acted. So if you know anything about this movie or have heard anything, especially in the last week or so, I had known when I initially read the one review I read a couple of months back when the movie was in theaters, that there was a twist. And then I forgot which critic I read, which the review I read, I forgot which publication I read it from. But the particular critic in that review was, I believe, a fan of the twist because you didn't see it coming, and they enjoyed it. So, anything with a good twist, you think of a couple of one you always think of as a Sixth Sense. So I was like, all right, this sounds like it's great. I have no idea what the twist could be. So I had known that going into it. So I'm not going to reveal, obviously, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to reveal what the twist is. But what I can tell you is the twist, to me, did come out of left field. I didn't see it coming, I will give it that. But for me, to be honest, it almost derailed the entire movie. And like I said, I don't want to get too much into it because there's really nothing I could say that would, if I got too much into it, it would give it away. But I thought, what I will say about the twist is I thought I didn't really understand why that was the quote-unquote twist. I don't even think really, that's the other thing, I don't think really it's a twist. I think it's some information you receive at the end that's surprising. So I don't know if it's really a twist ending. But to me, it almost derailed the entire movie. It seemed to have nothing to do with the rest of the movie. So I don't really know why it was even necessary to put that in there. Now, I know this film is based on a 2016 novel. I do not know. I haven't read the novel, so obviously I don't know how far the movie veers from the novel. If the twist that's placed in the film is from the novel, was it that? I have no idea about because I have not read the book. So, like I said, I won't get too much into it, but it really just didn't make sense to me. So that really hurt my overall enjoyment of the film because I didn't know how the film was going to end, and to really have it be that what this particular twist was, it wasn't satisfying to wrap up the film for me. So that's why it really hurt my enjoyment, and it's going to hurt my overall review of the movie. But again, if you watch this review and have seen the movie, definitely comment to me on what you think about the twist. Like I said, I thought it basically almost derailed the film. Not completely, because I really enjoyed a lot of it up until then, because I was curious to see how they were going to resolve this story, with, who was going to end up being the Pope, what things about the other candidates were going to be revealed that would either undermine that particular person becoming Pope or set them on the course to become the Pope. So that's really where the film, I thought, was leading me, and that's what I was looking forward to see that kind of resolution at the end. And it just, like I said, it really threw it off the rails for me. So that's tough because, like I said, I enjoyed a lot of it. Ralph Fiennes, of course, is always fantastic. Like I said, the performances are great. You have, Tucci and Lithgow, always great. But really, Ralph Fiennes is fantastic in this movie. He gives a very controlled, mannered performance. He shows Lawrence's conflicted nature about even being there, his own crisis of faith, his loyalty to doing what the deceased Pope wanted him to do, his duty to see this process all the way through without interruption in the best, most fair way possible. So Ralph Fiennes and his performance conveys all of that. He's my favorite thing about this movie. So for that alone, it was worth watching it for me. Like I said, the end just really, really derailed it for me. So Conclave, directed by Edward Berger, I am going to give and I went back and forth on this one. I give my reviews on 5 stars, so I was vacillating between 2.5 and 3 because, like I said, the end really just killed it for me. But I'm going to go into a 3-star out of 5-star review. And like I said, that the only reason it's not 2.5 for me is on the strength of 2/3 of the movie and on the strength of Ralph Fiennes' performance, which is fantastic. So those 2 reasons alone tipped it over to a 3. So on that scale, that means the movie was watchable. That means I enjoyed aspects of it. If you're a Ralph Fiennes fan, I think you'll enjoy the film. Obviously, Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, always fantastic. But this is really Ralph Fiennes' movie to carry, and he carries it fantastically, save for the end of the movie, which has nothing to do with his performance. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. Again, I'm really interested to hear feedback on this one. Like I said, I know there's been some controversy about the end, about the twist ending, and like I said, I'm not going to say what it is. So if you want to watch the film, if you do watch it and then watch this episode or listen to this episode of the podcast, I would definitely want to hear your thoughts on it. Like I said, it was a major detriment to me. So that's hence the 3-star out of 5-star review. But again, on the strength of Ralph Fiennes' performance, I really enjoyed his performance, and that really carried the day for me to push it from a 2.5 to a 3. So again, I want to thank you for listening to the show. Again, if you can, follow the show on X, on YouTube, and on Instagram at Bend Your Ear Pod. If you can click and subscribe to the YouTube channel, that'll be great. As I stated in the previous episode, or if you've been listening, the goals for the show for this year, 2 main goals, is to grow the audience, both video and audio. So please click and subscribe. If you listen to this audio, please subscribe to the show, rate and review it so we can get more ears and eyes on it. And the second main goal of 2025 is to increase the support of the show via donations if you can. Like I said in the previous episode, there are costs associated with producing the show. So if you can add any little bit, every penny helps, every dollar helps. So I will continue to humbly request that. And if you can, if you're watching the video, you see the QR code right here on the left. Or as I stated earlier, you can go to the X page of the show at Bend Your Ear Pod. There's a tip jar there. And feel free to contribute. As I state, as this year goes by, and if I start to get feedback on that, I may consider, I set up a Patreon a long time ago, but I've never really gotten into it. But I may fire up a Patreon for exclusive content. So if there's suggestions you have on things that you would be willing to contribute to receive exclusive content from me, like maybe shows with exclusive reviews on it, reviews of movies that you request that I'll do for personally and put it on the Patreon feed if I end up doing a Patreon. So please give me those suggestions. Like I said, I'm open to suggestions. You know, if you want swag, magnets, stuff like that. I know some podcasts do that. So I'm open to any suggestions on that. So if you want, please, you can hit me up on X at Bend Your Ear Pod, or you can email the show directly. Again, that email is bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com. So again, I want to thank everybody for listening. I appreciate it. As I stated, big goal for 2025 is to get more episodes out and to raise the profile and the listenership and viewership of the show. So those that listen and regularly listen or watch, thank you again so much. I appreciate it. And if you can spread the word, retweet my post on X with new episodes, if you can just spread the word. And like I said, click and subscribe wherever the show is at. Again, X, you can see the show there. You can see the show on YouTube and Facebook, and also on Rumble. I just started broadcasting there too. So if you can follow the show on Rumble, if you're on that platform too, please follow it there too, so I can increase the profile there. Again, like I said, goal of 2025 is to really increase the profile of the show. I love doing it. I love talking movies. So again, you can email the show at bendyourearpodcast@gmail.com, and you can download every single episode back to episode 1 of the audio podcast at the website, which is letmebendyyourear.com. So again, thank you for listening and thank you for watching. And to wrap up, I'm giving Conclave, directed by Edward Berger, 3 stars out of 5.